Cannabis Common Sense, the show that tells the truth about marijuana and the politics behind its prohibition.
Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of Cannabis Common Sense. We have another fine show for you tonight. I think we're at show number 796. I believe we've got a lot. Anyway, Casper Leach is here. He's the joint host. Welcome, Casper.
Happy Friday.
In the wings, John Cornett has a great rendition, I think, of a John Lennon song, one of my faves. And we have an exciting hip news segment for you. We'll be taking your phone calls and questions about ending marijuana prohibition, restoring industrial hemp, and helping medical marijuana patients in about 20 minutes. But first, we're going to bring on, as we always do, our infamous dancing cannabis leaves.
I feel the force.
All right, our first story tonight is out of Springfield, Illinois. It's been a long time coming and a hard fight. Medical marijuana advocates have made it to the 1-yard line several times only to be turned back. But yesterday, August 1st, 2013, Illinois Governor Pat Quinn signed a bill which legalizes medical marijuana in Illinois. Democratic Governor Quinn signed the bill in a ceremony at the University of Chicago, reports Roy Long of the Chicago Tribune. The 4-year trial program will be the strictest medicinal cannabis law in the nation, according to supporters. Under the law, medical marijuana can be authorized for patients with nausea from cancer treatment, with multiple sclerosis, and with AIDS. Quinn's signature will make Illinois the 20th state, plus the District of Columbia, that have legalized cannabis for medicinal uses. In fact, just last week, New Hampshire became the 19th state. The new Illinois law will take effect January 1st, 2014. Patients will be authorized to possess no more than 2.5 ounces of marijuana each 2 weeks. The authorizing physician will be required to have a prior and ongoing relationship with the patient and must find that patient has one of a few dozen serious or chronic conditions for which marijuana can be authorized. Patients will have to buy their cannabis from one of 60 dispensaries throughout the state. Unfortunately, they won't be allowed to grow their own. Dispensary employees will undergo criminal background checks, and the stores will be under 24-hour camera surveillance. Patients will have to carry cards indicating how much they bought to prevent stockpiling. Marijuana will be grown indoors at 22 secured cultivation centers registered with the state of Illinois. Our next story is from Central America. The International Narcotics Control Board, a subsidiary of the United Nations, has expressed concern over moves by South American nation Uruguay to legalize marijuana. The law would be in complete contradiction of the provisions of the international drug treaties to which Uruguay is party, according to INCB reports, the BBC. Under the bill, which has been passed by Uruguay's House but still needs to be approved by the Senate, the government would assume control of growing and selling cannabis to registered users. The International Narcotics Control Board, or INCB, is an independent group of experts established by the United Nations to monitor countries' compliance with international drug treaties. In a statement released just hours after the legalization bill was approved by Uruguay's House of Representatives, the INCB said such a law would violate the Single Convention on Narcotics Drugs of 1961, which bans the sale of marijuana for non-medical use. If adopted, marijuana legalization might have serious consequences for the health and welfare of the population, according to the INCB. By bringing the sale of cannabis under state control, Uruguay hopes to remove drug dealers and divert users from more harmful drugs. The bill was approved by 50 of the 96 members of parliament present in the House of Representatives, following a fierce 13-hour debate in the capital city of Uruguay. Supporters argued that the war on drugs and traffickers had failed and the country needs new alternatives. According to Sebastian Sabatini of the governing center-left Frente Amplio, our broad coalition, the regulation is not to promote consumption. Consumption already exists. The bill now goes to the Senate, where a vote's expected in October. It's seen as likely to be approved in the Uruguay Senate since the left-wing government has a majority in that body. It could become law before the end of this year. Opposition politicians have said they believe that they will launch a petition campaign to have it overturned. Meanwhile, the UN's INCB claimed it was interested in maintaining a dialogue with the government of Uruguay on this issue. It also expressed regret that the Uruguayan government had refused to receive an INCB mission before the draft law was submitted to Parliament for deliberation. In California, a student at the University of California at San Diego who was forgotten and left handcuffed in a holding cell with no food or water for 5 days by the Drug Enforcement Administration has settled a lawsuit for $4.1 million, according to his attorney. No criminal charges will be brought against the officers involved in the incident, which began with a April 20th or 420 raid at a party that Chong was attending. Chong said he had gone there to smoke some marijuana to celebrate 420. Chong said in May, they never came back. They ignored all my cries and I still don't know what happened. I'm not sure how they could forget me. Chong filed a $20 million lawsuit against the agency for leaving him with nothing to eat or drink while in handcuffs for 5 days. Daniel Chong even drank his own urine to survive. He's 25, and he tried to carve a farewell note to his mother into his arm before authorities found him severely dehydrated after locking him up last year in a drug raid in San Diego. There was no toilet, no water in the holding cell, just a metal bench on which he stood in a failed attempt to set off the sprinkler system while in handcuffs. Chong was among 7 people detained in the April 20th, 2012 raid on a home in University City, California. He was cuffed and put inside a 5 by 10 foot holding cell by an officer who told him to hang tight, we'll come get you in a minute. The door of the cell didn't open again for 5 days until April 25th. Chong had no food, water, or toilet facilities during that period and spent the last 2 days in complete darkness. Chong was taken to a hospital for acute kidney failure and muscle degeneration and dehydration upon his release. He spent 3 days in intensive care, was close to death, and was released from the hospital after 5 days. That's a tragedy. So our next story is from Denmark. A driver's risk of being severely injured in an accident is highest after having either consumed alcohol alone, resulting in a blood alcohol level above 0.08, or in combination with other psychoactive substances, according to the findings of a population-based case-controlled study published online in the journal Accident Analysis and Prevention. Danish researchers assessed the overall risk of a driver being severely injured in an accident after having consumed alcohol, illicit substances, or various types of pharmaceutical drugs, including opioids, benzodiazepines, diazepines, or so-called Z drugs, sedatives, and sleep aids, such as Ambien. Case samples were collected from 2,490 people from severely injured drivers in selected hospitals in 6 European countries. Cases were matched against nearly 16,000 randomly stopped controls. The odds rations were adjusted for age, gender, and country. The investigators reported, quote, the highest risk of the driver being severely injured was associated with driving positive for high concentrations of alcohol alone or in combination with other psychoactive substances. The second most risky category contained various drug-drug combinations such as amphetamines and medicinal opioids. Medium increased risk associated with medium-sized blood alcohol levels of between 0.5 and below 0.8. The least risky drug seemed to be cannabis. They concluded among psychoactive substances, alcohol still poses the largest problem in terms of driver risk of getting injured. This study, Risk of Severe Driver Injury by Driving with Psychoactive Substances, appears online in Accident Analysis and Prevention. Out of Washington, D.C., qualified district residents this week began legally purchasing cannabis for therapeutic purposes. So far, fewer than a dozen patients are registered participants in the nascent municipal Cannabis program there in Washington, D.C., which allows qualified persons with a doctor's recommendation and authorization from the D.C. Department of Health to obtain cannabis from D.C. licensed dispensaries. The District of Columbia joins 20 states that have enacted legislation allowing for the physician-authorized consumption of cannabis, including Illinois, which enacted legislation on yesterday, August 1st, to establish a medical marijuana pilot program. More than 10 states now license or are in the process of licensing producers to legally grow and dispense cannabis. Some 70% of district residents initially approved a municipal initiative in 1998 authorizing qualified patients to possess and consume the plant. However, Congress blocked city officials from implementing the voter-approved law until 2009, about 11 years. In 2010, members of the D.C. City Council amended the 1998 initiative to permit the tightly regulated production and sale of cannabis by licensed facilities. Members of Congress allowed the amended measure to become law without federal interference in July of 2010. After numerous delays, D.C. regulators have finally begun authorizing physicians, patients, and dispensaries to begin participating in the city's medical marijuana program. The first district-authorized marijuana sales took place on Tuesday this week. Under the District of Columbia law, qualified patients must obtain cannabis at a licensed dispensary. They're not permitted to cultivate their own cannabis or possess cannabis from some other supply source. Permitted dispensaries must acquire the cannabis they sell through licensed producers of the plant. In addition to the District of Columbia, Arizona, Colorado, New Jersey, Maine, New Mexico, Rhode Island, and Vermont have licensed medical cannabis dispensaries up and running. California and Washington state dispensaries are not licensed by the state. Similar dispensary outlets are in the process of opening in Connecticut, Massachusetts, Nevada, and New Hampshire, and legislation to establish state licensed dispensaries in Oregon is awaiting action from Governor Kitzhaber. We hope the governor will sign that. If he doesn't sign it and it becomes law without his signature in about another week, and hopefully he won't veto it. Our next story is about the risks of smoking. The pulmonary or lung impact of smoking marijuana regularly is far less than that of smoking tobacco, according to a comprehensive new review of the published evidence conducted by Dr. Donald P. Tashkin, Emeritus Professor of Medicine and Medical Director of Pulmonary Function Laboratory at the University of California at Los Angeles. Brian Jansen at the Oncology Report wrote that habitual marijuana use alone doesn't appear to lead to significant abnormalities in lung function, according to the report, nor does it increase the risk of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, or COPD, or either lung cancer or upper airway cancer. According to Dr. Tashkin, smoking marijuana is, however, associated with an increase in symptoms of chronic bronchitis due to inhaling the smoke, but these symptoms go away upon discontinuation of its use. Dr. Tashkin concluded the accumulated weight of evidence implies far lower risk for pulmonary complications of even regular heavy use of marijuana compared with the grave pulmonary consequences of tobacco. Dr. Tashkin's article is the most comprehensive and authoritative review of the subject ever published, according to an accompanying editorial by Dr. Mark A. Ware. Dr. Ware, who's a family physician and anesthesiologist and director of clinical research at the Allen Edwards Pain Management Unit at McGill University in Montreal, Canada, predicted that the conclusion that smoking marijuana is not a major risk factor of airway cancer or COPD, quote, will affect the way health professionals interact with patients, parents, with teenagers, and policymakers with their constituents, end quote. That's the end of our Hemp News segment tonight. We're going to jump over to Mr. John Cornett. How are you tonight, John?
I'm really good, Paul. Very happy to be here Friday night.
Always happy to have you.
I'm going to do an old song here. Change it up a little bit, see if it sounds any better than I did it the last time. Soon as you're born, they make you feel small. Giving you no time instead of it all, till the pain is so big you feel nothing at all. A working class hero is something to be. A working class hero is something to be. hate you if you're clever, and they despise a fool. A working class hero is something to be. A working class hero is something to be. They've tortured and scared you for 20 odd years. And then they expect you to pick a career. You can barely function, you're so full of fear. A working class hero is something to be. A working class hero is something to be. Keep you hooked on religion, sex and TV. You think you're so clever and classless and free. Still freaking peasants as far as I can see. A working class hero is something to be. A working class hero is something to be. There's room at the top, they're telling you still. As long as you learn how to smile as you kill. If you want to be like those folks on the hill. A working class hero is something to be. A working class hero is something to be. If you want to be a hero, just follow you. If you want to be a hero, just follow you. I'm so sorry my guitar was out of tune. Thank you.
Hey, I like that spin about just follow you.
Thank you.
Everyone should be self-directed.
That's
I
right.
agree.
Thank you.
Hey, welcome, Casper.
Thank you.
Hey, we had a great show earlier today on your radio show, a
Did.
2-hour special with a lot of luminaries from around the world in the field of industrial hemp, including people in New Zealand and Slovakia and South Africa and Canada. So it was a pretty exciting show. I'm glad.
And great
Thank you.
moderators, too.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah. You and I and Andrea Herman, who is the president of the North American Hemp Industry Association.
And she did a great job pulling together so many wonderful people
She
for
did.
the
She did
show.
a very good job.
And it is the kickoff of the summit. We're every Friday doing 2 hours on Time for Hemp Live. And at the end of the month, we'll have 10 hours of 30 of the greatest experts that we could find all around the world talking about ending prohibition. So, and thank you for being part of it this morning, Paul. It
Thanks
meant
for
a lot.
having me.
And we, by accident, I spoke to Todd McCormick earlier in the week, and Todd found out what we were doing and offered to do what we called a keynote presentation on Thursday, and talked about the early history of hemp.
So all of that's available on your website, which
It
is
is.
time, the digit 4
Yep.
hemp.com, right?
It is, and in iTunes.
On iTunes.
And make it a point to tune in every Friday to watch the summit grow.
Or you can do it on iTunes anytime.
Yes.
Is that free to watch it, listen to it on
Absolutely,
iTunes?
absolutely.
Good, good. We are live tonight. It is the 2nd of August, 2013. If you have a question about ending adult marijuana prohibition, restoring industrial hemp, or helping medical marijuana patients, you can call us at that number there on your screen. It's 503-288-4442. That's 503-288-4442.
I got a question. People have been asking me what is going on with the DEA, these raids in Washington, these raids in Colorado, when it's supposed to be legal, and these are supposed to be legal houses that are operating, and it's supposed to be everything just hunky-dory, and all of a sudden the DEA's like, can we talk?
Well, I haven't heard about raids in Colorado, but I have heard about a number of raids up in Washington State. And I think the dispensaries in Washington State, like California, as we covered in our hemp news segment, are not licensed by the state, where the ones in Colorado are. So, they haven't released their information. A few of the people who were arrested in those, well, they weren't arrested, people who were caught up in those raids and temporarily detained and had all their marijuana stolen from them, they said they were called before a grand jury in September. So it's all up in the air for them. I know one DEA agent told this young lady that your life is going to be hell,
No.
So like I said, I think we should make these DEA agents' lives not hell, but purgatory. A little bit of purgatory would be a good thing.
If a DEA agent ever told me that, I'd call you, and I'd call a handful of people in Normal and a handful of people at LEAP, and then I'd have them all call the DEA. Just saying.
Okay. Well, we had a lot of exciting news. I'm real excited about Illinois becoming the 20th medical marijuana state.
You're right. To see him sit down in front of the cameras and actually sign that, you're right. He's procrastinated on making that happen up until now. And didn't Barry come from that state before him and Michelle moved to the 1600s?
That's right. And he's, Governor Quinn of Illinois said he had talked to Obama, and Obama had encouraged him to sign this bill and said he was proud that Illinois was leading the way on medical marijuana. Well, that's quite the change.
Wow.
And then another big piece of news that we didn't cover in our hemp news segment is that the drug czar, I don't like the word czar, it's a Russian despot, king, basically.
Yeah.
But the drug czar, Gil Kurligowski, former police chief of Seattle, has resigned from his office as the drug czar.
Good.
And his assistant has resigned as well.
Great.
But Gil
They're
Kurligowski
surrendering.
has been named to be the Homeland Security's person in charge of border and customs.
Sounds like to me they're finally going to surrender. They recognize that the war on drugs is fruitless, that everybody realizes that they're kind of stupid, like the emperor has no clothes. I know the name. That'd make a good title for a book. And everybody realizes that when you move your lips, you lie. So you might as well just throw in the towel and quit. So there's no point in even reappointing another, what they call a drug czar.
Drug czar, or the head of the Office of National Drug Control Policy.
Use that money on something groovy, like, I don't know, making it possible for kids to have band uniforms after school, or maybe some kind of like labs that they can use to learn.
There's a lot of
nice,
good things the federal government could spend their money on
Yeah.
outside of war, whether it be a war on drugs or a war on Afghanistan or Iraq, if you ask me.
And if you do appoint a new drug czar, please find somebody whose name I can pronounce. I don't know, Johnson,
You couldn't
Smith.
do Kurligowski?
Not more than once in one day.
It's
worked
Polish.
on it, yeah.
Well, I don't know. Okay. Well, once again, if you are watching us, you can call your friends all around the world and tell them to tune in to Ustream.tv. They can watch us there at Ustream.tv every Friday night live at 8 p.m. Pacific time. And then after that time, they can still watch the show for the next week there or after. And we also have an even larger archive on YouTube. So if you go to YouTube, you can watch hundreds of episodes of Cannabis Common Sense if you got a lot of extra time on your hands.
So
you can also watch it on pottv.net.
Oh, that rocks. So Kurligowski is going to be hanging out at the border now?
He is now with the Homeland Security.
Well, maybe if any illegal guns happen to go across the border, they'll catch them.
We can hope.
We can hope, right? Otherwise, I don't know, maybe Eric Holder will help them track him down.
Maybe so. Maybe so. So, we have a series of initiative campaigns going on. They are in their formative process. We are hiring people. If you run into someone downtown who asks you to give money to help legalize marijuana or end adult marijuana prohibition, those folks are working with us. And we have so far raised about $25,000 from 1,300 donors over the past 3 months. And we've got even a larger out-of-state donor who's matching those funds. So we are preparing our marijuana petitions. You can come down to our office at 2712 Northeast Sandy Boulevard and get signed up. They aren't ready to circulate yet. The process in Oregon is you have to turn in 1,000 valid registered Oregon voter signatures. So we turned in 2,000, which was the maximum amount. And now we're in the process of getting those petitions ready for circulation. And so it probably won't be till September at the earliest, but we are getting people signed up right away. So you can come down, or if you're interested in getting a job involved in canvassing in the public, then you can come to our office and get signed up right away at 2712 Northeast Sandy Boulevard. That's 2712 Northeast Sandy Boulevard, or you can call us at 503-235-4606.
One of the things I think is really exciting is how one of those that we're petitioning for is going to help put a foundation onto the state that's going to be economically strong with a new banking system. And so that way when the country fluctuates or the world fluctuates, Oregon will be strong, right?
Yeah, North Dakota is the only state that has a state bank. All public money in North Dakota has to be deposited in their state bank. And so we modeled our initiative to establish a state bank of Oregon on North Dakota's. And we think that North Dakota did not see an economic downturn with the banksters' implosion of the economy back in 2007 around the housing crisis, nor in the previous economic crisis. So that's one of the non-cannabis related initiatives that we are putting forward.
But it's still very important because, as you pointed out, it makes this state very solvent. Oftentimes when you see the word state in the title of a bank, it's just a title, but here it'll be truly that. And like you said, it'll be generating more income and loans and help for the people in the community to get stronger. And so all the way around, it's a great thing, Paul.
That's right. You know, so in addition to that one, we have another initiative, the Genome Protection Act, that would make it where every person owns their own DNA, and DNA information would be open source code. It can't be patented. It would be akin to software open source code, subject, of course, to personal privacy rights. And another one actually says that people, natural individuals, have more rights than artificial individuals like corporations.
Say what?
With the ruling by the Supreme Court a couple years ago in Citizens United, they say that corporations have more rights than people.
Well, yeah, they're wonderful. They embrace us. They love us. They're just like mom and dad.
Well, they're, you know, the corporate charter has changed dramatically since it was first introduced about 150 years ago. So anyway, this is meant to redress those problems by saying that people have more rights than corporations, government, and artificial intelligence. Though we don't have to worry about artificial intelligence today, in 20 years we will. And so
well, that means that we'll be smarter than most politicians, because if they have any intelligence at all, it is artificial.
And then our two marijuana initiatives. One is a constitutional amendment, a very short 2-sentence amendment that says people can possess, use, and grow cannabis and cannabis concentrates, and that the state can regulate the sales if they so desire. And the other one is a revision of last year's Measure 80 that would regulate the sale of marijuana to adults. It says that people can grow their own.
Well, it sounds like if all this happens, there's going to come a time that if I'm going to get a job in the field of marijuana, I'll be going to the state to get a license, whereas in Indiana, I used to go to my neighbor's house and
Well, you get a license now, I know.
Yeah.
To legally possess, use, and grow marijuana if you're a medical marijuana patient. Under these laws, any adult over the age of 21 would be able to cultivate their own marijuana and possess, use, and grow it without a license. So you wouldn't need a license to grow your own, and you would only need a license if you wanted to sell it.
That is so cool.
I think so.
We
hope our viewers think so too.
We are on the cusp of having a couple of fantastic events here in this part of the world. Between Seattle and Portland, Oregon, we're going to be just hemping it up.
Yeah, went to the Olympia Hemp Fest last week. That was the first legal marijuana hemp fest. It was neat to see people smoking in Olympia and not having to worry about being arrested.
Did you have an Olympic smokeout there in Olympia?
That wasn't really an Olympic smokeout, but it was the first legal hemp stock. I'd like to thank Jeremy and Kitty Miller who had put that on. And then here coming up on the 16th, 17th, and 18th is the largest hemp fest, the Seattle Hemp Fest on the waterfront in downtown Seattle. Our organization, THCF, is the presenting sponsor, so we get a little mention at the top of all of their posters and lots of other things. It's a huge event with up to, there's the poster right there, 250,000 people on the waterfront. And so there you have it. So we have a phone call. Welcome to the show, caller. Hello, caller.
Yes.
How are you?
Oh, I'm fine. Thank you.
Good. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you.
Did you have a question for us tonight or comment?
Well, I moved here from Colorado, and I had my medical marijuana license for 2 years up in Colorado, and then when I moved down here, I came into the office there on Sandy Boulevard, and talked with the in the office there about it, and she said I'd have to get my medical records from the doctor that gave me the license up in Colorado, but he wants to charge me $100, and I'm on Social Security, a very limited budget, and so... Well,
there's another clinic in town.
I can't do that.
That would be happy to help you. So I recommend you call 503-235-4606. That's 503-235-4606. If you fill out a medical record release form, then our clinic can go get your records, and it won't cost you a dime to get those records. Then, you know, unfortunately, the fee here in Oregon is quite a bit more than the fee in Washington is, but still it's an annual state fee like the Colorado law is.
Yeah. Well, I'll come into your office this coming week, and...
Okay. Call that number, 503-235-4606. We have doctors here in Portland and all around the country that can help you get a medical marijuana permit.
Okay, well, I appreciate that information. I'll be in to see, or I'll call Monday and whoever about it, and see if we can get this.
Come in and fill out the release of information, or you can go to our clinic website and print that and bring it in that way. That's another way. So you can just print the release of information form directly from the internet.
Okay.
All right. Well, thanks for calling. Good luck.
You.
If you have a question or call for us tonight, you can call us at that number there on your screen. It's 503-288-4442. That's 503-288-4442. Now, if you're watching this show and it's not August 2nd, then don't try to call that number because we're only here for this hour at that toll-free number. You know, we have a video that talks about a hemp car that Henry Ford developed. He developed a hemp car that ran on hemp seed oil, much like this little lamp here is burning hemp seed oil, and it's an aluminum. It's the original aluminum for the original lamps that were first gathered in prehistoric times. And you can see that Henry Ford actually himself grabs a sledgehammer and bangs it on the back of this car, and it just bounces off because the body is made out of a composite, including hemp fiber and hemp seed oil. So we're going to run that video, and hopefully we'll get the sound this time. Stay tuned.
Amongst the thousands of products made from hemp, one of the most extraordinary is Henry Ford's plastic car. Built in 1941, it contained cellulose fibers derived from hemp, sisal, and wheat straw. The plastic was lighter than steel, yet could withstand 10 times the impact without denting.
That's an excerpt from an Australian documentary that was produced back 20 years ago called Hemp, the $1 Billion Crop. And so that's a neat little excerpt from that now rather old documentary.
Well, we're learning now that it's a multi-trillion-dollar crop. What used to be considered to be an antiquated crop is really a great crop for the new century. And it's amazing now that the history is being unearthed. One of the things that blew my mind when Jack Hare began to do his research, he came running through the office going, you know, they're hiding their history. They're hiding the history. And I thought, our government's not going to be hiding history. I mean, why are they going to hide information about a plant? But you know,
they do. It's about the petrochemical industry. It's really about fuel,
and
fiber,
hemp's
money,
missing.
Power, and the continued centralization of
Hemp's
economic
missing in
and political
encyclopedias
control.
and in dictionaries during a certain period of time in our history, and it's gone.
I was watching this documentary on Turner Classic Movies last night. It was a little extra that runs in movie theaters.
Right.
It was called Stuff for Stuff, and it was a 1946 documentary about how trade protectionism had led to the Great Depression. Wow. And in that documentary, they mentioned hemp as being one of the key crucial items that the Grecians and Romans had introduced to Western civilization. I was a little surprised by that.
That could be used maybe to turn around at that time the economic woes that they were facing with the Depression.
Exactly.
Isn't it funny how throughout history, when the humans are starting to struggle, the one thing that they finally do grab onto is hemp.
Yeah.
Items made of hemp. Food made of hemp. You know, Jack pointed out to me as well, there's been a couple of famines in countries where people were just dropping left and right from hunger, and they introduced a hemp porridge, a gruel that didn't take much to make, and it was easy to make, and it went a long way, and because of all the nutrients inside it, just because you weren't able to fill your belly, you were still able to stay healthy.
Yeah, I can
Absolutely
understand
amazing.
that. So the viewers out there, if you have a question or comment for us tonight, you can call us at that number there on your screen. It's 503-288-4442. We'll be taking your calls right up to the top of the hour, about another 20 minutes or so, and we do have a caller standing by. Welcome to the show, caller.
Yeah, hello. I was just calling in to, compliment you guys on your good works and say, it is ridiculous because hemp has like 101 uses.
100,000, really.
Right.
Even now it's cheaper to make plastic out of hemp seed, even though they can only grow these low THC strains that produce about 1/20th the amount of seed oil than a higher wild hemp in the United States produces. So once we allow hemp to return to its rightful place in our economy, and we don't regulate hemp oil and seed production based on its THC content, but upon the types of hemp that produce the most seed oil, protein, and fiber, then we'll find that a lot of the petroleum that's being used won't be used anymore. And instead of our money going to the Saudi princes and the OPEC dictators and stashed away in their Swiss bank accounts, it'll go to our farmers, and our farmers will spend it in our communities, and that money will help our economy grow and create jobs here.
Exactly. And I mean, that's my whole point. Plus it gets you high too, which is great.
That's right. I think so too.
Well, trust me, as a politician, if you elect me, I will outlaw the plant.
Are you running?
No, I'm just making fun of them. I'll outlaw the plant that keeps you free from foreign oil. I will outlaw the plant that keeps you healthy when you eat it. I will outlaw the plant that provides for you the medicine that you and your next generation needs to keep healthy, because I, as a politician, am smart and care for you. Please elect me. You can trust me. I am on any party.
What are you going to run for?
Whatever you need me to run for, just give me your money and I'll do it. I am a politician.
Right. I was trying to keep it positive. I'm just saying, but that, to me, that's the biggest problem in the world. Not to mention, though, me myself, that it's just like you want to be free in a free country.
Yeah. Exactly. It's supposed to be, in Europe, they don't call our country the land of the free. They don't have to undergo urinalysis testing. They call us the land of the pea. So.
You're kidding.
Well, anyways, keep up the good work. Good work, guys.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. And he's just trying to be funny.
Bye.
Thank you. Good night.
All right. We have a video clip from our friend and associate Jorge Cervantes. He wrote the book Marijuana Horticulture, and he's got a number of videos out there. You can go to his website at marijuanagrowing.com. That's marijuanagrowing.com. I know he will be at the Seattle Hemp Fest as well. Maybe we'll get him here to the Portland Hemp Stock Festival too. We don't know that yet though. But here's a little video clip about water and nutrients from Jorge Cervantes from right here in Portland, River City.
As long as the drainage is good, it's difficult to overwater fast-growing cannabis. Gently break up and cultivate the top half-inch of soil surface with your fingers to allow water to penetrate evenly and guard against dry soil pockets. Irrigate soil and soilless mixes when they are dry 1/2 inch below the soil surface. Use plenty of water and allow at least 10% runoff during each watering. The concentration of calcium and magnesium indicate the hardness of your water. Water containing 100 to 150 milligrams of calcium per liter is acceptable to grow marijuana. Reverse osmosis machines are the easiest and most efficient means to clean raw water. A reverse osmosis machine uses small semi-permeable membranes that allow pure water to pass through and filter out the dissolved solids from the water.
And that's what we use to give the plants, because that water is much easier to deal with.
Nutrients are elements that a plant needs to live. Carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen are absorbed from the air and the water. Other nutrients are absorbed from the growing medium and nutrient solution. Supplemental nutrients supplied in the form of a fertilizer allow marijuana to reach its maximum potential.
You're going to spend a lot of money on different fertilizers. Pay attention, look closely. Fertilizers help you, but at the same time, they're expensive. Basically, you need two kinds of fertilizer when you're growing marijuana. One for vegetative growth, which is a high nitrogen fertilizer. Later, when you change the photo period, you want to change your fertilizer to a flowering fertilizer. So you want to have a low nitrogen and a high potassium and a high phosphorus. And of course, you have to use a micronutrient. In this case, it's Flora Micro. And you can also get a hard water formula and a regular or a soft water formula.
If plants are growing well and have deep green, healthy leaves, they are probably getting enough nutrients. The moment growth slows or leaves begin to turn pale green, it is time to fertilize.
These plants have been flowering 8.5 weeks, and we'll notice what they look like. All of the leaves, the large fan leaves or small water leaves around the outside of the bud, are turning yellow. This is from lack of nitrogen.
Experimenting on 2 or 3 test plants is the best way to gain experience and develop your horticultural skills. Give the test plants some fertilizer and see if they green up and grow faster. You should notice a change within 3 or 4 days.
Well, if your plants are thirsty, they may care for a little bit of tea. That's organic tea. And this pillowcase is full of llama manure and sheep manure. And this stuff is a great mix for vegetative growth. So what happens is this is soaked in here for several days, and then the water is used as fertilizer. Great stuff, and they can put it on really heavy. Now for flowering, what this grower will do is use llama manure and bat guano. Different mix, it's got a high phosphorus content and potassium as well. Works great for flowering. Okay, this is a 2,000 gallon an hour pump, and he just hooks on the garden hose to it here, and on the other end he's got this water wand with an on-off valve, and he waters away. And at the other end of this water wand is a breaker head, and this breaker head mixes water and air together. It aerates the water just before it's applied to the plants.
Okay, thank you, Jorge Cervantes. To get more information from Jorge, go to marijuanagrowing.com. We've now come to our show and tell segment. We called it show and tell back when I was a kid. Now I guess they call it sharing. But yeah. Right here, you'll see hemp fiber. This is hemp twine from China. We've taken a little snippet of this hemp twine and put it in this hemp seed oil, and that's our lamp. It's pure hemp. And so this is the reason that marijuana is illegal. because they don't want us to use this to run our cars, like those cars that we saw that Henry Ford was showing us. You know, Henry Ford's hemp cars were stopped dead in their tracks because of marijuana prohibition. They made up the name marijuana to play on anti-Hispanic racism. And so they were able to prohibit hemp fuel, but now it's time to return it. Our ecology is out of balance, and it'll help. Then we'll get you to close in as tight as you can on these little tiny bottles. And you can see right here we have from Chicago, Illinois, and the Abbott Pharmaceutical Company, a cannabinoid compound with cannabinoids and atropine. This is circa 1910. There's little pills in here. You can see some of them have been used. This one came with initially 100 pills.
How do you know that what you're getting in one bottle is? I mean, all the pills look alike.
No, they're different. Each bottle, see, these are little white pills that are gelatin coated. These are black gelatin coated pills.
I mean, you brought the.
And then these are white pills. But let's talk about the pills individually. Right. Then here, it's extract of cannabis indica. This one is from the Merrill Pharmaceutical Company of New York. And then last but not least, we have another extract of Indian cannabis. Extract of Indian cannabis. Now this one's interesting because on the side here, it says that this is for neuralgia, hysteria. For those things, you take 1 tablet every 8 hours. If you are an opium, morphine habit, or alcoholic, you take 1 or 2 tablets with meals and at bedtime. If you have insomnia, take 1 or 2 tablets at bedtime. This one's just about full. It's got an old stamp on here, and it's got these little tablets. Of course, these things are way out of date, but they're nifty for their antique value. Then, coming up to modern times, a new dispensary product that was just shown to me last week are these nifty pre-made meals. This one is Uncle Sam's Chili, a vegetarian chili that's gluten-free and medicated. You can see it says right up here, medicated. And so this says there are 3 doses in this chili. So Uncle Sam's Chili, got to thank Uncle Sam. He's also got Uncle Sam's medicated pizza sauce. You can make your own pizza. Or if you can try his Uncle Sam's marinara sauce. Nice. Again, you can see the little tag, medicated. They say this one is, let's see, 3 doses in this one, 2 doses in the pizza sauce, 3 doses in the chili. Nice. So that's that. And then last but not least, just brought in here at the last minute is this old poster from my old hemp paper company. If you go to the Great Book of Hemp, go back to 1990, the Great Book of Hemp, which was written by Rowan Robinson. I started a hemp paper company called Tree Free Eco Paper. And this was in about 50 different Kinkos, mainly here on the West Coast, that ran on our hemp paper. You can see some copy machines have a mind of their own. This one has a conscience. Tree Free Eco Paper. That was my company. I ran that company from 1989 through 1997, when I spent a little bit too much on offices and payroll and not enough on inventory. But medical marijuana patients can be glad that we are able to open clinics.
So you really are a tree hugger.
I guess so.
So you love Mother Nature. You think Mother Nature is better than man?
Pretty good for an inanimate object. This copier runs exclusively on tree-free eco paper, the most environmentally friendly paper you can find. Cool. Tree-free eco paper is made with 50% hemp and 50% straw. It has no wood fiber whatsoever, and it's made with no dioxin-producing bleach. Nice. Save a tree. Put your copies on tree-free eco paper. There are a number of different hemp papers out there now. I know you can pick up some at Amazon, and I ordered some 100% hemp paper from Gmund. That's G-M-U-N-D, Gmund in Germany. They make batches of 500 pounds for $2,000, and that includes delivery. So
I would hope so.
Well, it's about the equivalent of cotton fiber paper, actually, only it's superior in quality to that.
You may be writing, I don't know, some kind of special document for that much money.
Yeah, you should. We have our letterhead at our clinic office on that. 100% hemp paper.
Something as important as maybe
we have nifty business cards on it.
Maybe
too.
you might want to write, I don't know, maybe the Bill of Rights or the Constitution. Something that valuable on hemp paper.
There's a number of people who've done that. In fact, I think you can probably find some people at the Hempstock Festival that are selling copies of the Constitution or the Declaration of Independence printed on hemp paper. So
that was the paper of the day, wasn't it, when they did that?
It was rag paper, and most rags were hemp before the invention of the cotton gin. And so what they do is a rag guy would come around and collect the rags and the worn out clothes and give you a little bit of money. They take that back and make it into paper. And that, until the invention of the wood-based paper, that was what all paper was made out of.
And that's where the expression, I'm not reading those rags anymore, they're full of lies?
That might be it. That might be it. I have a little text message here. It says, can I please mention the Alternative Wellness Cardholder Appreciation Day is Sunday, August 4th
No, we won't
at 4:20. That's at 5241 Southeast 72nd Avenue. No, I'm not going to mention that. Another quick thing. LK's friend of 40 years, Jim Hyatt of Berkeley, is playing at Alternative Wellness new stage tonight.
Nice.
At 9:30.
Nice.
So be there or be square.
Smoking allowed?
It's a dispensary. So
Okay,
you have
great.
to be a medical patient, and yes, smoking is allowed.
Well, then it'll be a great little concert then.
I think so.
Yeah.
That'll spice it up, that's for sure. We are down with just about 7 minutes left, and if you have a question or comment, you can call us at 503-288-4442. And we do have a caller standing by. Welcome to the show, caller.
Hey guys, how we doing?
Pretty well. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. This is Red down at the Alternative Wellness Center.
Oh, all right.
Hey, how we doing, guys? We just wanted to invite
I just
you guys
gave
down.
you a plug.
We got,
Did
Jim
you hear
Hyde
that?
down here getting ready to play some guitar or something for us on stage.
Uh-huh. All right.
Figure we
Well,
invite you guys
it's
down
like flashback. I just mentioned that from a little text message I received. But that's good.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We were just inviting you guys as well.
Well, thank
and
you.
Thanks
I
for the
appreciate
shout out
that.
as well.
Well, all of our viewers can go down there and have a good old time.
Yeah, Alternative Wellness Center. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
Thanks. So, like you said, the Seattle Hemp Fest is coming up. That is the largest pro-marijuana event. It's a protestival, they call it, at the Seattle waterfront. It's coming up on August 16th, 17th, and 18th, just 2 weeks from today.
I love the
We won't
poster.
be having a live show on Friday the 16th. We'll have a taped one. And then we have our own Portland Hempstock Festival coming up on Saturday and Sunday, September 7th and 8th, down at Kelly Point Park at the convergence of the two largest rivers in the West, the Columbia River and the Willamette River.
Nice.
There's one river that's larger than the Willamette River, and that's the Snake River here in the western United States. But the Snake River joins the Columbia River. So really you have all three of the largest rivers there flowing right by you at Kelly Point Park. It's a wonderful site. I think it's a sacred site. And of course, we had our friend and mentor, Jack Harrer, give his last speech there about 4 years ago. And shortly, within 5 minutes after he left the stage, he suffered a massive heart attack and passed away a few months later. But we are in the process of trying to rename Kelly Point Park the Harrer Point Park after Jack Harrer. And we could certainly use your help on that. If you'd like to get involved, you can call our office at 503-235-4606. That's 503-235-4606. You can also call that number if you want to get involved in our petition campaigns to end adult marijuana prohibition and expand individual freedoms. We are hiring people who can go out in the public and work and get signatures and money. So if that sounds like a job you'd be interested in, then you can call that number at 503-235-4606. Last but not least, if you or a loved one has one of the conditions that qualifies for medical marijuana in Oregon, Washington, California, Hawaii, Nevada, Michigan, or anywhere else, we have a physician referral line. You can call us at 1-800-723-0188. That's 1-800-723-0188. But if you're in the Portland area, please call our local number at 503-235-4606. 4606. Casper, you want to give a plug for Time for Hemp again? We got a good opening plug for it, but we'll get a closing plug
I
too.
appreciate it very much. AmericanFreedomRadio.com, Monday through Thursday from 10 to 11 a.m. and then on Friday from 9 to 11 a.m. Every Friday this month we're doing the Global Summit. Please make it a point to tune in and share us with your friends. And thank you, Paul, for being part of our Time for Hemp family and making everything that we do at Time for Hemp a little more exciting. So we appreciate that so much.
Well, it is a blessing in many ways, and we have that great hemp summit with all these industrial hemp people. What's your next subject next Friday?
Next Friday, we are covering medical marijuana. We're going to have Mary Lynn Mathery.
And the person I'm excited about from Israel, Hebrew University, the person who discovered THC and he discovered THC back in 1972, and then 20 years later, about 1992, he discovered the body's endogenous cannabinoid, and he named it anandamide, after the Sanskrit word for bliss, and that is Raphael McCoolum. Raphael McCoolum is one of the illustrious guests on your show next week.
Exactly. I mean, I am so blessed to have so many great minds take part in this particular summit and make it possible for us to put together a tool that will be of use for activists all around the globe to help bring an end to prohibition, because the only way to defeat a lie is to put the light of truth on it.
And I agree with that. That's what this show is all about. You know, once again, if you want to get involved in our efforts, the number's right there on your screen, 503-235-4606. And we're going to jump over, and John Cornette's going to close out the show with some more great music. I want to thank you folks for watching. Tune in next week and help us restore hemp.